Hi Ian, what I thought I'd do is I'll do a quick video and send it to you just to make sure that you know that the clock is actually in working condition before it actually goes out to delivery. The idea behind it is to make sure that you know how to operate the clock, because the idea is, obviously, you know, as a Westminster clock, that in order to actually set the time you have to use the minute hand. So every 15 minutes this will strike. So as you hear, and then as you can imagine at 7 o'clock it will click onto the hour. Okay, so that is clearly working. The clock will come with a key, so that all you need to do is just basically wind it, but it's pretty much tight upon delivery anyway. And it will be packaged so that the pendulum and the key are taken off and separated outside the clock so it doesn't clank into it, and it will be placed into the back of the clock itself. So when I package this in the back, all of these hammers will be raised. I'll pad it out completely. The pendulum will be removed. So as you can see here that the pendulum is there, the key is here. They'll be packaged together and slipped inside here, and this entire thing will be packaged together. So what we've got here is an understanding of how this clock should work, because as you can see it's ticking away quite nicely at the moment. It's because it's calibrated for this surface. So what happens is, let's assume that your surface isn't even, or the surface this clock currently is may not be even. So how do we actually calibrate this entire feature? Well, there is a little L shape here, which I'll show you in a second, that allows you to sort of swing it beyond its reach so that it calibrates to the level that it's actually on. So let's imagine for a second that we listen to the clock. So I'm letting you go. I'm going to bring it closer so you can actually hear the clock. So as you can hear, that's a perfect tick. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it uneven by putting something underneath it so that it sort of raises it from one side. So let's pretend that all I'm going to do is put this underneath it. And what will happen is that the pendulum ideally stops ticking. So as you can hear there, that pendulum, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a swing just to give it a chance. So as you can hear, it's gliding to the right hand side more, and eventually it will miscalibrate and it ticks more than it tocks. So as you can hear, so it's ticking more than it's tocking, and the reason why it's doing that is because it's uneven, and it will come to a stop, hopefully, for this demo. So you can see that it's actually come to a complete stop. So as you can see here, it's actually been positioned so that it's been raised. So if, let's say, imagine that you are on a surface that is different from the one I've set here. So how do you then calibrate it? So if, let's just say that this is the surface that we want it to be calibrated to, then it's a matter of actually going to this particular section, and I'll show you here, and I'll try and zoom in. So let me just bring this out a little bit and I'll show you what this is. So let's just quickly zoom into that section. Bear with. So I'm just waiting for the camera to sort of pick up on the fact that it needs to zoom. Okay. Sorry about this, I'm just making sure that the camera does actually pick it up. Okay, so that is now, you're able to see this. Now, what we've got is a pendulum that's uneven, or a clock that's uneven, and I need to calibrate the pendulum. So there's a little tiny L shape here, and I'll show you what I mean by that. On the side here, there's a little L shape there, so I'm just going to bring it out a little bit so you can actually see the zoom. There's like a little L shape there that you can push left to right to actually make sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it just a little bit to the right because I know it's over there. You can see I've just pushed it just beyond its certain limit, and you can see that it's still not ticking. So what I need to do is just make sure. So I'll just push this along to the left a little bit, and then to the right until it starts ticking. So I know this one won't work because I can hear it ticking more than talking. So I'm just going to bring it in a little bit. So it's a bit too far, I can tell. So listen to this. That's a perfect tick. So it's tick-tocking perfectly. And it's that bit that you need to sort of push left and right, because you can feel it easing into position. So now this is being calibrated for this surface, so I'll explain what happens now. So let me just quickly bring this back. So you can see here that the surface here is calibrated for this. So it's ticking away quite nicely. Now if I was to take away the leverage from here and then bring it back, you can hear, yeah, so it's come to a complete stop. And the reason why is because it's been calibrated. So what you do, as before, is to make sure that this little L shape here, so here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to push it to the left, to the right a little bit until I find the perfect tick. So I'm just going to push it this way. So I can tell that's just a little bit off. Nope. And as you can hear, I feel it's just a little bit off. Let me just make sure it's a little bit on right, correct. Hold on. Nope. That feels better. So as you can hear, that's the sound you're looking for. There we go. So if I was to recommend, what you should do is place the mantelpiece clock as you receive it. So let me just bring this back a little bit so you can see what I'm about to do. Is when you receive the mantel clock, make sure that the pendulum is in situation. Obviously it's already wound by the key, so it should be in situ. The hammers are all in their nice positions, and then all I'll recommend is making sure that when you receive the clock, you put it into a place where you know it will sit perfectly fine, and your job is just to make sure that when you get the clock going, what I recommend is just give it a little shunt so that the pendulum swings. so I can hear that the pendulum is ticking away nicely. But if it doesn't sound right and if it stops, all you have to do is reach to the back of the clock and feel for that L shape and just nudge it left and right, left or right depending on its situation, and leave it to sort of tick for a little while. If it comes to a stop, you know it's not center of gravity, so it's just, that's what you're looking for, is just to make sure that's perfectly fine. Now the maintenance of the clock goes like this, with regards to it ticking away quite nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it go 7:15. Now let's assume that everybody in the world absolutely hates the sound of a Westminster chiming clock, so let's just say we need to turn it off to silent mode. So what you essentially need to do is, as you can see here, hopefully this should focus, give it a mo. So as you can see there's the silent, which is on the downward position, and the chime, which is on the upward position, but that chime is midway. I think it's just the age of the clock. So if I was to push it down, the next round, 7:30, will be silent. And I'll explain the reason why I'm demonstrating this to you. So if I was to say move it to the downward position, push that lever down, the next round means it's all going to be silent. So let's say 7:30, no sound. 7:45, no sound. Now let's just say you want the chime to come back on again, but remember, this entire mechanism is geared up to say I want it to chime at 7:30. It's waiting for half past 7, or at the half past hour. So if I was to turn this back on, so you can hear it's chimed for half past 7, and it's reminding you what hour it is. So again, what you've heard there is it's reminding you that it's just chimed for 7:30, but it still thinks it's half the hour. So how do you make it catch up to the next round? Because you know if you were to carry it on, it will go to the hour, which will go through the full Westminster sequence. What you do is you bring it down and then you bring it up again. Ideally, sorry. Oh, sorry, you need to make sure. That's it. It's just because this hand needs to be close to this. So let's demonstrate. Yep, bear with me. Okay, so let's assume that we put it on silent again. We know that the next sequence is going to be the Westminster chime, full sequence, so it's going to go through the whole cycle. So let's turn it off. We know that it's expecting it to be the full hour sequence, so we go to the hour, nothing happens. We go to 7:15, nothing happens, and then we go to 7:30, and so you want to turn it on again. What happens is that it's expecting to go through the full sequence, so we turn it on. Yep. So it's assuming that it thinks it's around about, it's on the hour. So how do we make it catch up to these two sections? So we need to make sure it goes to the next sequence, which is 7:15. So down and then up again. Okay. Now it's caught up to that section there. Okay, now we need to make sure it catches up with this. So down and then up again. Okay, and okay, so now it's gone to the half past sequence. So if we were to keep it on chiming and then and make sure that it goes to the time. So let's say it speeds along to 9:45. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it to the full hour, but I'm not going to edge it on. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to wait for the ticking, because I know that the pendulum on the back of this is working fine. I'm going to basically wait while this works its way up to the hour, 9 o'clock. So I'll let you listen to the clock. And apologies about the background ticking as well, because I'm fixing other clocks as well.